Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and if you're sat there thinking, Alex, are there any games coming to the Nintendo Switch in the month of June? Well, yes, today we're going to be taking a look at just the creamiest tip-top layer of the delicious games coming to the Nintendo Switch in the month of June, if you can bloomin' believe it, which is the following month if you're watching this in a timely manner. As always, this is not an exhaustive list. There are plenty of games that we are not featuring, and plenty of games coming out in June that haven't even been bloomin' announced yet, or they've got some sort of like vague one like spring or summer. And no one's updated us! But anyway, that's more than enough waffling, let's dive right into things. Starting off on the 3rd of June, we have Astalon Tears of the Earth, a sort of side-scrolling, sort of Metroidvania, and at first glance you might sort of think that it looks relatively straightforward, but you do get to switch between 3 different characters at any time, which that in itself is kind of interesting, not necessarily completely outlandish. We've seen it in like Pikmin 3, which is a very different game, but still. But the real kicker is that every time you die, you come back stronger, which sounded counterintuitive to me to begin with, but I suppose you could argue that it's kind of a way of balancing the game out. You know, if you're dying, then arguably you're not, you know, as good at the game as you could be, maybe. And so each time you die, you kind of get a little buff to make things a little bit more straightforward and, you know, give you a little bit more wiggle room, which is an interesting way to go about it. I'm actually genuinely really keen to see how they execute this. So yeah, I'm curious about this one. Then on the 5th of June, we have Umurangi Generation, which I've probably mispronounced. This is a first-person photography game, but if you're thinking Pokemon Snap, then think again, buddy. The thing about this game is that there is no dialogue. Like, at all. There's no dialogue. Everything about the game and everything about the story is told through the photographs that you take, with clear inspirations from things like Jet Set Radio and a rather fetching sort of low poly art style, which I must admit, I wasn't big on low poly when it first started appearing, but it's definitely grown on me. I really enjoyed Pokemon Snap, but this is clearly a very different take on the idea of a photography game. And it also includes a creative mode if you just like the environments and you just want to try and get the nicest shots you can, but be able to change the weather, time of day, and lighting at will. So there's that as well. Then on the 10th of June, we have Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, which includes Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, and Ninja Gaiden that one. This is in essence kind of like a reboot of the original NES games, but it was originally released in 2004, or at least the first one was, for the Xbox 360 and then later revamped on the PlayStation 3, which is where we get that lovely bit of Sigma at the end. I remember playing the demo for this back in the 360 days, and I remember the QuickTime events. Unfortunately, I don't remember an awful lot else, which isn't great, but, you know, I was an idiot, well, not quite child. I'm really pleased to see these come back. I've always wanted to give them a proper go, and now I have the opportunity. The very next day, on the 11th of June, we have Game Builder Garage, which we've covered relatively a lot on the channel. It's a system where you can make your own games. It's very much like the Labo VR Toy-Con Garage. I can never remember what it was actually called, but it's its own standalone thing, and yeah, it's a game maker, kind of like Dreams, kind of like Project Spark, except this one's actually coming out. I'm genuinely really excited for this. When I first heard about it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, but the more and more I've seen of it, the more I actually want to give it a proper go, and maybe I'll understand it more this time, who knows? But yeah, I don't understand coding that well, to be honest, so this really is kind of like my entire bag, because I've always wanted to make a game, but as I just said, I know nothing about coding. Jumping all the way to the 21st of June, we have Ender Lilies Quietus of the Nights, which is a 2D RPG about a fallen kingdom, and if you're getting strong Hollow Knight vibes as well, then you're not the only one. You play as a young girl called Lily who has to use these various sort of spirity things in order to uncover the truth about what's happened to this kingdom. I mean, that's not entirely Hollow Knight, but yeah, it definitely smacks of it, doesn't it? But that's no bad thing. I love Hollow Knight. It's all about exploration. It's completely open-ended, much like Hollow Knight was. Well, Hollow Knight wasn't completely open-ended, but even so, you can tackle all of the main bosses in any order you see fit. And yeah, I just think this looks nice, to be honest. I'm not mad keen on the animation style, that kind of like motion tweening, but you know, it's a minor thing. If the game's good, I can easily overlook it. On the 23rd of June, we have Fallen Knight, which is a side-scrolling action game. And if you're thinking this looks a little bit like Mighty No. 9, let's just say it looks more like Mega Man instead. I'm not entirely sure quite how much staying power it's going to have, or whether the combat is going to get a little bit too sort of repetitive, because it looks quite simple, but it's not always easy to tell from a trailer, and I'm intrigued enough that this is definitely on my radar, and I definitely want to learn a little bit more about it, and maybe you should as well. Sliding into the 24th of June, we have Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, which I've always appreciated for the name. You know, I've actually got this game on one of my Master Systems because for some reason I own two. There is a reason, it's not worth telling, but my first actual memories and playing of this game was actually at my next door neighbor's house, because he had a Master System just like I did, but I had Sonic on mine and he had Alex Kidd, and I was so confused. I was like, but when I turn mine on, there's Sonic, not this guy. I've often tried to go back and give it a fair shout, but just like so many other games, there are just so many other games that distract me from it. So this kind of shiny new semi-retro revival, I mean, it's still going for a pixelated look, but it is like miles ahead of what the original looked like on an 8-bit bloomin' Master System. And there have been other things tweaked here and there as well and reworked. Yeah, I think this is a really good sort of opportunity to see a side of Sega's history that I think quite a few people, certainly maybe some younger people, aren't as aware of and maybe don't care. That's fine, but maybe you should. On the very same 24th of June, we have Legend of Mana, which, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not keen on these graphics, and I couldn't tell you exactly why. I think it's the mix of art styles. It's the same reason that, whilst I was initially I quite like the look of Octopath Traveler, it kind of grated on me after a while. I'm kind of getting those vibes here as well. But at the same time, this is Legend of Mana. It's a bloody good classic game remastered in HD, and that is always a good thing. You know, if you can get some of these classic games and put them in the hands of people that aren't aware of them or are aware of them but have never played it, that can only be a good thing. Come on. If I can turn off my brain long enough to ignore the graphics, so can you. Or maybe you like them. I'm sure some people like them. Rushing in on the 25th of June, we've got Mario Golf Super... I forget the last word. I've never played a lot of any Mario Golf game. I couldn't tell you why, it's really weird because I love golf video games. I downloaded that Arcade Archives retro Neo Geo thing with like pro tournament golf thing, like really early on in the days, just because I like golf games, and that man going, I did it at the end. But now I've got the perfect reason, and I am really excited for this one. It looks like they're genuinely trying to do some really cool, interesting, and new stuff, or at least, you know, revisiting some old stuff in some instances, with like the single player where you run around as your Mii, which is very reminiscent of the old Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. Oh god, they're doing so much right. And that new mode where you're running around, I think it's called like probably Super Rush or something, where everyone plays golf at the same time. There's a big part of me that's sort of thinking, why on earth has nobody done that before? I mean, it kind of goes against the whole idea of golf in many ways, but you know what? Screw that. That looks like a hell of a lot of fun. I'm planning on playing the absolute arse out of this thing, and no doubt covering it in plenty of videos on the channel as well. So, keep an eye out for that. It's a good-looking game. Having total disregard for my workload, also on the 25th of June, we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. I thought there was HD at the end, but there isn't for some reason. If you didn't play any of the Tony Hawk's games in the past, then you may kind of be wondering why this is such a big deal. But these games were just like stupidly good fun. You just skate around as one of the many people. I don't know who's in this version, because obviously there's going to be licensing issues with likenesses and things like that. But oh my god, I played the absolute hell out of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 on the GameCube, and any opportunity to play any game like that again, sign me up. Then on the 29th of June, we have Zombies Ate My Neighbours and Ghoul Patrol. As a kind of, I mean, it's technically two games. I'm counting them as one because it's one release. and one's just the sequel to the other. This is a classic top-down shooter from the SNES era, and so many people for so long keep going on about this game and saying how amazing it is, and they're finally re-releasing it, and it looks like it's going to be a relatively straightforward port. I mean, they've got some like bonus bits and bobs going on in there, like a gallery, and they've got some interviews, I think, like that, which that is always nice, do not get me wrong, but it's the games people buy this stuff for. And the games are, I mean, they're just excellent. They're excellent games that have aged surprisingly well, and I've never been able to give Ghoul Patrol a proper go myself, and I don't know why. Again, it's just another bloody game. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. It looks so good. Again, on the 29th of June, we have Disgaea 6 Defiance of Destiny, which is a tactical RPG with crazy numbers. I played Disgaea, I think it was Disgaea 4 or Disgaea 5. I better check that. 5, it was Disgaea 5. I played Disgaea 5 when it released on the Switch, and I've got to be honest, it really wasn't my thing. I like tactical RPGs, but I just did not care for the style in the slightest, and it's very anime. It's very anime, but at the same time, I'm well aware that this series is adored by so many people. So I'm going to include it on this list, because I'm not here to judge, baby. Is it going to be a good Disgaea game? I would hope so. I mean, the fact that they're on 6 already is kind of ridiculous, let's not lie. And if you appreciate this type of game, as well as penguins calling you dude with 2 O's, then keep an eye out for this one, buddy. Again, on the 29th of June, we have Destroy All Humans, which is fairly self-explanatory, but I'll explain it anyway. Originally released for the PS2 and the Xbox and the PlayStation 3 and the 360, it even came out on the Wii, in fact. This is kind of like an open-world, third-person shooter-type game where you have to destroy all humans. But even though this version has the original dialogue, it's actually been remade from the ground up, so it's a brand new kind of, well, it's a remake. This is a remake. This is a bit of a cult classic, and maybe not for everyone and to everyone's tastes, but I personally like the look of it. I like the sort of the low stakes kind of just action, running around shooting. It just kind of tickles me. I'm going to keep a sort of a cautious eye out for this one, because this version on Xbox One and PS4 didn't review amazingly, but it reviewed all right, so you know. And finally, with the excellently vague June release date, we have Sky Children of the Light. This is a bit of a difficult game to explain, to be honest. It's a sort of a large, open exploration game, but it's got like heavy social elements in it as well. Kind of like an MMO, but really not. And you can interact with other people, but only in very sort of loose and basic ways. Like, you get some gestures and things like that, but there's no voice chat, there's no like text chat or anything like that. You're just there with these other people in the same world. You can hold hands, which actually has a function. You can like bring them into your own world and give them nicknames and things like that, so you can recognize them amongst all the other dozens of other people around you. And it's just this weird, bizarre, ethereal experience. I mean, it is a game, and it's very popular, and probably for no doubt good reason. I just can't really sort of like pin down like the core gameplay loop here, and I've tried without actually playing the game, which probably would have helped. But it's made by the same people who did Journey, so come on, it can't be bad, can it? And there we have it. That is just a smattering of the deliciousness that we can expect from the Nintendo Switch in the month of June, which should be expected because this isn't the first time we've done this sort of thing. Which of the games in the list are you most excited for? Which games did we not include that you're absolutely frothing at the nose for? Let us know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you, I don't know, stroke that subscribe button. She's lovely. Do you want to get down? Do you want to get down? And be sure to check out nintendolife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.